It's your Locked On Flyers podcast for Wednesday, January 25th, your daily dose of Flyers news, analysis, and high quality content that is really frustrated by that loss, how quickly it sort of happened in the end there.
Yeah, it happened fast.
All right, we're going to talk about that overtime loss to the Kings and get into your mailbag questions all on today's show.
Your Locked On Flyers, your daily podcast on the Philadelphia Flyers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello there. I am Rachel Donner. You can find me on Twitter at rmiriam. I'm here with Russ Cohen coming to you from the Wells Fargo Center parking lot. He's on Twitter at Sportsology. Thanks for making us your first listen every day. You can follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at Locked On Flyers. You'll keep up to date with all the Flyers news and our episodes. You can also email us at lockdownflyers@gmail. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, official sportsbook of Locked On. Make every moment more. Visit fanduel.com/lockedon today to get started. Locked On Flyers is free and available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you are listening right now. So subscribe. You'll get all of our episodes here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Plus, we're over on YouTube, so subscribe there as well. Russ, I have to say there was some really good aspects to this game, but there was also a lot of frustration. Like I said at the top of the show, John Tortorella seemed to think the Flyers had a really good game. Do you agree with him?
No, I mean, what about all those penalties? Like they could have won this game had they not had so many penalties. And John's not being genuine because he was barking at some guys on the bench in their ear. He just was trying to like hide it from the camera, but he was frustrated with some of those penalties, and some of them were bad. That James Van Riemsdyk took a horribly lazy penalty. I mean, it was right in front of the refs. There were just some of it was just uncalled for, and we talked about it. Now, luckily, the Kings only cashed in on one of the power plays, but
Right.
still, when you have the penalty kill out there that much, it takes a toll on the team.
Yeah, I think that was a huge part of it here with taking way too many penalties. And I think when you put that in combination with the fact that, and as we said pregame, when we previewed the game, the Kings are absolutely phenomenal at faceoffs. And when you have Danault and Kopitar out there, the Kings had 66% of the faceoff wins in this game. And on a power play, you put them in a position to succeed. They capitalized that one time. That made a huge difference in the momentum of the game at that moment. And I think that, giving up 3 1-goal leads in the game just added to that.
Yeah, it did. I didn't think Travis Sanheim had a good game. I know Tony DeAngelo had a bad game. DeAngelo was really out of position on the second or third goal. I can't remember this moment. And then you saw what happened in overtime. Like, again, these are things where I do have to wonder about the deployment of him. I mean, he's not getting better at his position. He's just not. And, you want him out there for certain offensive chances, fine, but there were some other times in the game where I'm not sure you want him out there. But, look, they did come back. They did get goals. Those parts are positive. Owen Tippett it was pluses and minuses. While he made a great play offensively, he's too easy to knock off the puck. And when the puck was against the wall or just getting into the offensive zone or behind the net, he was losing those puck battles. And you can't do that. But the Kings are strong and they're fast. And even though they were making some mistakes, when they had it sort of clicking, that's when the Flyers had trouble.
Yeah, and I would say that is especially the case in the first half of the third period, where the Kings just took over. And I do want to give the Flyers credit for getting back into it from a possession standpoint in that third period. Just couldn't capitalize on the plays, but at the same time, like you really saw the best of the Kings in that third
Yeah.
period, I think, and really what they can do. And when you have a stronger team like they have, that's the way we've been talking about it, right? When you have the Flyers go up against a team that is clearly better, like the Flyers have to play almost perfect in
Hmm.
order to pull it out, and they just didn't. To your point about Tony DeAngelo did not play well in this game at all. I think his ice time was slightly reduced, but not enough, in my opinion. I don't necessarily think he should have been benched, but there were definitely situations that he was out there that was not ideal for the Flyers. Again, especially off of those faceoffs, which odds are the Kings were going to win. So
Yeah.
I
And
think that's a huge issue.
the Kings got smart too. Like Carter Hart was playing a really good game, but the Kings were just sort of not able to score when there were a lot of pileups by the net. So about midway, I would say through the third, they started shooting high on Hart from far away, and that's where Fiala eventually got that goal. And that was a smart adjustment. I get it's a 2-on-1, so it's a little harder for Hart to make that save anyhow. But it was smart that they noticed that, hey, you know what? Let's start firing them from out here so we don't give them a chance, because the one thing the Flyers were was a step behind, and a lot of times they couldn't ever get fully settled. But if the play slowed down a bit and you shot and Carter Hart got a rebound, then you weren't going to get a second chance. So I think, the Kings played that the right way.
Yeah, and it was interesting because in that overtime, the Flyers went with that two defensemen, one forward structure again, and ostensibly that's a little bit safer and is a way to ensure that you won't get those rushes the other way when you lose possession. And yet, that's exactly what happened. And obviously, that sequence right before it, was really strong offensively, and it was just a
Yeah.
shame that they couldn't bury it at that point. But when you have Sanheim and DeAngelo really engaged offensively, and a team like the Kings gets the puck and goes the other way, like neither one of them could get back, regardless if Tony DeAngelo was complaining about a non-call on a
Right.
trip, which is kind of borderline to begin with.
Right. I mean, and that was something that happened earlier in the game on one of the other goals was they could, they were just too deep. They both can't go deep like that. You can't do it. And one of them has to be the safety valve. That's just the way it is. And that other part in the game where, when Sanheim crossed over to the left side, D'Angelo never covered the right side. Like he just went behind Sanheim. And it's like, what are you doing? Like your partner just tried to cut across the ice to make a play, and you didn't support him. There was no puck support there. So, those kinds of things, these are veterans. This is not like a kid where you could say, all right, they're going to learn. These are both veterans, and those kinds of plays have to get cleaned up. And at this point in the season, really shouldn't be happening.
Right, and I think that's where you look at Rasmus Ristolainen, who's been playing well defensively, and now
Yeah.
he's on a scoring tear apparently with,
Yeah.
4 points in 5 games, 2 goals, 2 assists. Maybe this is where you think about switching Risto back up with Travis Sanheim on that pairing, because Risto has been a lot more responsible defensively and can handle being in a pairing with Travis Sanheim.
And that's what I would do. And, I would have D'Angelo on the third pairing. And I really would rather
Yeah.
bring up somebody from Lehigh and take Sealer out too. But I realize that that's probably not humanly possible based on the coach's likes. But D'Angelo at this point has proven the teams that had him on the third pairing had him there for a reason.
Yeah. Wade Allison also had a great game. A little scary there for a second. Thought he
Yeah,
might have gotten hurt again. But
he
I
definitely was
think,
slower on his last couple of shifts. Like he got 3 shifts early in the third, and then they gave him a rest. And then his other shifts, he was engaged, but he wasn't skating as good. Luckily, they'll have a little time off here. Hopefully, he'll get healed. But it's a little worrisome with Wade.
yeah, hopefully he is okay and just a little banged up there, because obviously we know his injury history. But it was good to see him get that goal, which was a great second effort by him.
Yeah, it was a great working man's goal because he got that first shot in. He even felt himself falling down, and he still had the wherewithal to get that second shot on net. that was a situation where Copley did exactly what you're supposed to do as a goalie, makes the first save, and his defense sort of let him down because nobody was there to either to cover Allison or to try and clear the puck. So great play by Allison.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, we move on to the Minnesota Wild next, and we're going to move on to your mailbag questions coming up.
The NFL playoffs are in full swing. We're really excited about our new sports betting partner for Locked On because they're the number one sports book in America, FanDuel. And if you're new to FanDuel, that's even better. They have so many great features like making betting on sports fun and easy. New customers join today to get started with $150 in free bets guaranteed when you have your first when you place your first $5 bet. Just sign up at fanduel.com/lockedon. FanDuel has all your favorite bets from the money line to point spreads to player props. Plus, you could even combine your bets for a chance at a bigger payout with a same game parlay. We'll see what happens this weekend. I know everybody's looking forward to the Eagles against the 49ers. All on the app that's safe and secure and super easy to use. So football fans, don't miss out. Place your first $5 bet to get $150 in free bets, win or lose, at fanduel.com/lockedon. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NFL.
All right, Russ, it is time to dig into the mailbag. Got a nice variety of questions this week. Excited to get into it. Brian over email wants to know about the trade deadline versus offers for some RFAs. I think, the first one I think is pretty clear what's going to happen, but the rest of them are good questions. So starting off with Morgan Frost.
Yeah, he'll get signed. I hope now he'll get at least a 2-year deal. Maybe they'll give him a 3-year deal. I still don't think they're giving him a long-term deal, but 2 or 3 would be fine. Kiefer
Right.
Bellows, if he agrees to stay in the AHL, that's great. I don't think he's gonna, so I think he'll be gone.
I think so too. I
Zach
just
McEwen,
it
sorry,
didn't work out.
yeah, Zach McEwen will get another two-way deal. Jackson Cates, maybe they'll give him an AHL only because they won't want to upset the apple cart. He's done okay. I don't think he has a prayer to play for Torts right this minute or even next year. So he'd have to really show something. Ollie Luxell, I think they're going to have to bring him back. I still forgot to look at his contract status, but I would assume they're going to give him at least a 1-year two-way.
Yeah, I think with Ollie Lixell, they might do the thing that they've done with some other guys and have a 2-year deal where the first year is, a two-way deal and the second year is a one-way deal.
Right.
I think that's very possible with him. Yeah, Zach McEwen, they're going to give another two-way deal for him. I think you're right there. I don't know that he'll want to accept a two-way deal. That's the problem. I think he feels like he's probably earned the NHL only contract, which from his playing time, sure, but from an overall big picture, I don't know. So,
Yeah, I think it depends the kind of picture his agent puts out there
mhm.
because he's getting an inordinate amount of time with the Flyers. If for some reason another team wants him, he's going to be fourth line 6-7 minutes, and then he'll be lucky if he stays up the whole season. Like that's just reality.
Yeah, and that's why I wonder if they're gonna try and move Kiefer Bellows or Zach McEwen at the trade deadline to try and
Totally.
avoid
Yeah.
those conversations. But, yeah, I don't know, man. I think Morgan Frost is the only guarantee here of any of them.
He is the only guarantee.
All right. Misty Love on Twitter wanted to know if we see a 1-for-1 deal for Ivan Provorov coming up. And it's a good question. Frank Saravelli said the Oilers might be a good fit. I don't know if there's a 1-for-1 there that makes sense, but what's your take on a potential Provi trade?
Yeah, I don't think there's assets that the Flyers would necessarily want in a trade with the Oilers unless they're willing to just accept picks. That would be the problem with the Oilers' part. I think the Provorov is possible, but I don't think it's likely. I really don't because again, even though things have transpired, the coach is still playing them, and those minutes still have to be filled. I can tell you that I'm working on something where another Flyer defenseman is, getting bantied around, but I'm not gonna get out there with it yet.
Ooh, mysterious. I like it. We'll have to see what happens with that article you're working on. But yeah, I just don't see a one for one situation with Provi just because I think right now, like you said, building assets is the more important thing. And especially in this upcoming draft, I think picks would have to be involved as part of it.
Yeah.
So, Dave Dryden had a really good question about the right side for the forwards. So we have Travis Konechny, Cam Atkinson, Owen Tippett, Wade Allison, Bobby Brink, and Tyson Forster. There's only 4 spots. So Dave suggests that Wade Allison could be the 4th line right wing. Travis Konechny is like the first line right wing. So there's 4 guys for 2 spots. What do you see the solution to that, Russ?
Well, a lot of guys can play both sides of the wing, so I don't think that's a big deal, and Tortorella has done that. I can't pencil in Cam Atkinson, so there's a problem right there. So that puts it down 1 because until I actually see him playing in actual preseason games and all of them and all of camp, I'm not going to believe he's ready to come back. So there's that. Uh, and I don't know if Brink will be ready. I mean, I think they'll look at him in camp, and I don't care how many points he puts up in the AHL this year. He's still recovering from an injury, and then he has missed a certain amount of time. I don't think it's. I'm going to put Forster ahead of him simply because bigger body. He's way past his injury. He's right now the best guy in Lehigh, and I think Brink could use more seasoning for his overall game.
Yeah, I definitely think Forster is ahead of Brink in line right now. I mean, obviously things could change depending on how the rest of the season goes and who looks better at camp. I know with the Flyers, like your performance at camp makes a big impact on whether or not you get that spot, and they could send you back down a couple weeks later, as has happened many times on this team. But camp performance is a huge part of that decision. So I think it's going to be an interesting battle between those 2 at camp next year for sure.
Yep.
And they've got slightly different styles of play too, so it'll be dependent on what the Flyers are looking
And
for that
remember, there's
role.
no mention of Sean Couturier in this equation either, which I think is
Well, he's
fair
a
too.
center.
Well, he did put center in there, even though he's mentioning wings, like position of strength to fill holes at center, left wing, right hand. So he
Right.
did.
So do you deal any of these guys in order to
No, I can't. Yeah, it's true. We
lessen the
didn't.
burden on right wing to get a center or a lefty or
Right.
a
So that part
right-handed
I didn't
defenseman?
answer. The answer would be no,
Yeah.
because I can't trust
Okay.
anybody coming back.
All right. Yeah, I could see, if they're gonna make a deal again, I think it's gonna be for more assets that are prospecty picky
Yeah.
right now. That
Yes.
was a very technical term there,
Oh yeah.
prospecty picky.
Very technical. I understood it though.
Yeah. All right. Russ, what is your solution to getting more offensive chances that are not on the rush in terms of fixing that zone entry situation and getting set up on 5-on-5?
Well, I mean, definitely let Frost carry the puck up, even if they're slingshotting it back to him, because he's got a way of having guys miss and being able to get into that zone. He's got the vision to make good passes. So he's one of those guys. Sanheim is another one of those guys. I mean, again, I know the thinking is D'Angelo should be that guy, but there's a lot of times D'Angelo doesn't have clean zone entries. I can't tell you why. I don't. He's got the talent to do that, but if for whatever reason, I trust Sanheim and Frost more than I trust D'Angelo in that situation. Once in a blue moon, Tippett could take a rush up. That's fine. He generally goes up the same side, but he has a good idea of least of what he wants to do, and that's fine too.
Yeah, interestingly, this is the I agree with all of what you said, by the way. I will say this is one of the rare times I'm going to praise the 4th line because I think they actually do a pretty decent job at this. Like McEwen will take the puck
Yeah,
down and kind of go behind the net. And the other guys, it's not like a fancy or really strong perimeter passing getting set, but it is, really good, like get some dirty goal opportunities in front of the net kind of set. Well, they'll put 2 of those guys kind of on either side of the net when McEwen takes it down and around. And whether it's the defenseman who's with them or whether it's Delorier, like they try and get a more physical, dirty goal
They
kind
do,
of set.
and sometimes that's good. You can't let Delorier carry the puck ever, though. Just
No,
saying.
he's the trailer that gets set in front of the net
Yeah.
in that scenario.
You have
But
to wait for him.
yes, you do. You do. One more question before we take a quick break. Is there any shot that Torts makes changes to the assistant coaching staff this offseason?
Yeah, I think there's a chance. I think there's a good chance. I'm not going to say who yet, but if you listen to the show, you probably have a good idea who I think it is.
Yeah, there's one guy that he likes a lot and has done tremendous work creating the power kill situation
Right.
that the Flyers have put together. And then there's the other guy.
Yep.
So that
Well put.
would be it. All right, coming up next, we are going to answer some prospect questions as well as look ahead to the All-Star game. So we'll do that next. All right, we've got some more good questions here. The first one, do any defensemen in Lehigh Valley get a call up this season after the trade deadline?
I think Zamula will, because he is trying to be more assertive down there. He still has, a fair amount of points for the rotation that he's in. He's not playing all the time. He does get assists. His skating is good. His physicality can be good. Like, he's pretty close to being ready. Adard still needs some work. I would rather just see him finish
Right.
out the year there. If they make the playoffs, great. And so that's kind of where I'm at right now. Right now it would be Zamula or bust.
Yeah, I think so too. Although I would be intrigued if Adam Yinning gets a call up
Yeah, I mean,
as
if they want to
well.
give him a couple games because he's,
Yeah,
done really well, that's fine. I would want to wait though. I want him to be at his height of physical power, so when he comes up, he could be a little like Matthias Samuelson and really throw his body around. I don't know if he's
right.
ready to do that yet.
Yeah, it's a good question for sure. I just think that, obviously it'll depend on what moves get made and if there's any
Yes.
extra spots open for defensemen. But if a second guy is going to get a call up, I would hope that Zinning or that I had Zabula and Adam Ginning in my head at once. That Yinning gets a good shot
But
at
no one
it
torts,
this
it'll be
year.
Kevin Connaughton.
I don't know about that.
I know. I'm
But
just saying.
all right, next question. Do the Flyers cut ties with Samu Tuomala this offseason?
No, you can't. I mean, if you do that, boy, you really just wasted that second round pick. You need Tuamala to hopefully turn into something. So you have to just do the opposite of what you just said and bring him in, get him to play with North America. If look at what Brian Lambert's doing. He's playing in Seattle. We wanted, and I know you were on board with this. I wanted Tuamala in the OHL this year. They didn't make it
Yep.
happen, but still goes for next year. Get him in the OHL. He needs to play games.
Yeah, I think so too. And maybe a fresh start and a change of scenery will help him out. Maybe being at home hasn't been the right move for him. So we shall see with him. I like this question a lot. Any predictions for Kevin Hayes's events in the All-Star skills competition?
I haven't really looked over all the events. I can tell you it's not going to be fastest skater. It won't
No.
be that. It won't be that. I think if they still do the breakaway challenge because he does have a really good first pass, I can see him doing that.
Yeah, I could also see him dropping into the Claude Giroux spot where he does the accuracy thing, like shooting into the mini nets and trying to hit targets. I think
Oh, the mini nets from the water. If they do that, maybe yeah.
not the water ones,
Oh,
but
not
where
that
they have
one.
the tiny nets where you have to
Oh
soft
yeah,
pass it over the
that's
little
right.
barriers and go into the
Yeah,
tiny nets.
that might be good.
Yeah, I think that's where he will end up. But Yeah, I hope he has a lot of fun. I hope he gets to show his personality a lot
Yeah, he's got
because
a
I
good
haven't seen it.
personality.
I have not seen him smile a lot recently on at
No,
least on camera.
it's been a few times, but I would say it's been few and far between for sure.
Yeah, so I hope he smiles a lot at the All-Star game. Another good one. Who of the current Flyers do you think might go into broadcasting post-career?
I could see Travis Konechny because he's pretty funny and opinionated. If he wanted to, I think he could. Wade Allison probably be another natural. Wade Allison would probably be very much like Heath Jones. Maybe not. Maybe it would take a little bit more training to get as good as him, but he went to the same college and he seems to have a similar game and a similar view on life. So I think he would be a good one too.
That is a good one. I wonder about James Van Riemsdyk
Mm.
there. I think he would be a good color analyst.
Uh
I
huh.
think you're right about Wade Allison or like Travis Konechny is a studio guy, right? He's
Yes.
not he's not a play-by-play
No.
or
No.
color guy. He's
No.
definitely a studio guy, but I think that JVR could be a color guy. So, I don't know. I'm not sure any of them are like guarantees, but then I would never have thought Keith Jones would have been that guy either, and he's turned out to have a successful career. So, you never know with who might be interested. Last question here. The Oscar nominations came out yesterday. Any snubs or any particular awards you're passionate about?
Really nothing that I'm passionate about other than I support the fact that Tom Cruise got snubbed for Top Gun. I'm good with that.
As best actor. The film got
As Beck Actor, yeah.
nominated for Best Picture, though.
Well,
So,
it won't win.
yeah, I was really hoping Viola Davis would get nominated for The Woman King. I think that was a pretty big snub there. And other than that, yeah, I think it's a weird year that
It is.
just some of them just aren't as compelling. I think that Everything Everywhere All at Once is a phenomenal film and should win everything. Like there's two nominees up against each other in the supporting actress category there, but I hope Stephanie Shu would win it, even though I don't think that she will, because I do think that um, there I don't know. I think that if anybody from that film will get it, it would be Jamie Lee Curtis in this situation, but
Yeah, I'm
I
a
think
big Jamie Lee
Stephanie.
Curtis fan. I didn't see the movie, but I would always vote for her
Oh,
because
it's like,
she knows how to
honestly, you
act.
should see it. You
Okay.
really should see it. It's a phenomenal piece of film.
And the other snub that I support is Glass Onion. That was good for, the first hour and 15 or so, and then it kind of unraveled.
Yeah,
If it would have been strong all the way through, I might have said it was a snub.
but it did get a couple of nominations, I think, like, for writing and one
Yeah, just
other
not
thing,
Best Picture
so,
is what I'm talking about.
yeah, yeah. All right, that will do it for today's show. Thanks so much for listening. We will be back tomorrow to preview the Flyers versus the Minnesota Wild. Plus, we'll have some prospect talk as well. As a reminder, we always want to hear from you. If you want your question answered on the show, you can tweet us at Locked On Flyers, email us at lockedonflyers@gmail, or comment over on YouTube. I'm Rachel. I'm on Twitter at rmiriam. That's RMIRIAM.
I'm Russ. I'm at Sportsology, SPORTSOLOGY.
Have a great day, everyone.